Hi everybody, just making sure you can hear me okay, all good. I think headphones on, potentially, if you can hear any better on that. Welcome to our talk, brought to you by the team at Deployteq. We want to talk to you today about a journey we've gone on with Wickes, who are here with us today as well, around the MME. I'll explain what the MME shortly is, but we've used data to help transform the way we talk, the way we communicate with consumers and tradespeople at Wickes. To some effect. My name is Robin Young. I've worked on the account for all of 4 years, and
I'm Sophie. I've also worked on the account for 4 years.
there we go. Today we're going to go through a little bit of the shared history. I think there's no doubt there'll be some commonalities between you guys today and the story that Wickes have gone on. We're going to talk about fulfilling the omni-channel communications brief that we work towards, and a mission and a target we set ourselves. The missions and motivation engine is the MME we were talking about, and I'll explore and tell you a little bit more about how that came to be and what it does and how it continues to evolve as we move on. And then we're going to talk about some of the tailored programs that we've developed on behalf of Wickes, and then some sort of key takeaways of what we found. It's certainly not been an easy journey, and this is 2 years in the making, really, where we've been able to run. But first off, a few of you will no doubt know who Wickes are, but just so you know and get the context about them, they are now a digitally led, service-enabled home improvement retailer. They cater for local trade, for do-it-for-me customers. These will be the bigger ticket items, so your bathrooms and kitchens, showroom, and then there'll be the DIYers, doing the jobs that you do around the home and house. We have up to 230 stores that we cater for, and over 8,000 colleagues that help support us in our day-to-day and carry through our mission. And we help the nation feel house proud is our mantra. At the heart of what we do is we talk about our capabilities, and there was a couple of key things that worked for us with Wickes in particular. First, it was the vision set out by the team at Wickes. You need an ambitious team, and the likes of Gary, Kibble and co have enabled us to set our sights much further than probably ever before. But naturally, there's always a tendency of the capability, what's feasible. And the technology that sits behind this is Deployteq. It is a no-code platform that helps us interact and work seamlessly with a lot of other areas of the business that have come on board over time, and I'll talk about the timeline in a moment, to work with our POS, to work with our e-commerce platforms, to work with our CDP, in order to make sure to facilitate some really complex programs that we set ourselves. And we didn't just want to make an MVP. We wanted to go, if we really want to hit our aspirations, we had to make it work. So this is at the core of what we do, and this is the ecosystem in which it lives in. The timeline is important because I think it'll resonate with quite a few people that are in this room today. We came on board in 2017 as partners to help build out a strategy, a long-term strategy, to get closer to customers than ever before. Deployteq was then the platform that we were able to embed to help us facilitate and bring that a reality. We also work with other partners like CDPs to make sure we get a proper 360 view of our customers. But there were still a lot of disparate systems that work, and a lot of legacy systems that existed. And naturally, everybody's familiar with what happened around COVID. And particularly in this instance for Wickes, we soon realized it was no longer just a bricks and mortar store with a website. It had to become a fully multi-channel e-commerce capable partner. And what we were able to do is ramp up really quickly to sort of facilitate that, not only just be able to click and collect, but actually we fundamentally changed and looked at that business completely differently over 3 months in 2020. What also helped is I suppose, a demerger with Travis Perkins. It enabled us to have and look after and maintain and have access to the data like we never had before. Data lakes that worked in disparate systems were now able to facilitate and were able to work with. If we fast forward then to the end of last year, and we'll talk through the journey we've gone on, is we'll be able to be recognised in what we've done, and we're proud of what we've done. It doesn't mean we rest on our laurels. We know a lot of our competitors are also seeing what we're doing and trying to go on better potentially. So we looked at creating a revolution around the customer and programs that supported it. But to do that, we had to really do a lot of introspection. And that, again, I have to give credit to the guys at Wickes, and particularly Gary, to be able to give us the time. And it takes a lot of effort to be able to really disseminate what the problem is. Who are we talking to? What's the thing we're trying to do? Not trying to just find solutions or straight to deployment. We looked at surveys and customer records. We looked at over 300 million different web transactions that have gone on, web browser behavior, search page views. We looked at a lot of unique customer records that were sat in, again, lots of different disparate pots. Where they bought from, when did they bought? We had to make sense of a lot of that. And a lot of social searches and sentiment about how people felt about Wickes and how buying from Wickes was actually sometimes a barrier. So what we found, and again, I asked you the same question, what are your thoughts of Wickes and what they are as a retailer? On one hand, most DIYs only bought once a year and from one category. From the diverse selection that we had, that wasn't where we wanted to be. And I think we also realised that for Trade Pro members, only 6 or so categories were being shopped at any one time. So we knew there was more to go after. The headroom that was there was something we had to realise. And fundamentally, the customer challenges were obviously limited categories and infrequent shop, but it was a perception gap. A major issue was actually not being able to tap into more of the implicit mission. For Trade Pro members, for Trade Pro or local trades, they always felt that it was more DIY-led, it wasn't tradie enough. Whereas from a consumer perspective, it felt too tradie, sometimes almost a little bit too male. I had to change that perception of how it was. So how do you talk to those individuals in different ways? Well, that's where we came up with something called the MME. So that's our missions and motivation engine. This is a wordy slide and I won't want you to read it, but essentially what we do is we score every individual on the base every day. This is about looking at the latest missions and choices that people are doing and making, and other touch points, not just a point of sale, but actually interactions that make a link between, actually it's not just buying a tap or buying some paint. There's a much bigger, I'm trying to create an area within a home that's, for me, an area for the kids to play in, a social space in the garden for me to, have people over. And so what we were able to do is not only use that data on an ongoing basis and be reactive much quicker, the data lake is also allowing us to do that in real time rather than there being a delay, but we can predict more of what mission you're in and what mission you're likely to be in next, just from those moments. We also use an array of legitimate and well-vetted second and third party data points. That helps us also find people in a moment, and that might be around the time when you're thinking to move. Certainly post-move, that'll be the biggest spend in the first year than the following 6, so we know there's correlation between people to move. So home mover data and others have helped support and add to what we're trying to do with customers from what we know from our primary data set. I'm going to hand over to Phil to talk you through a little bit more of that detail.
Successful retailers like Wickes know how to turn data into insight and insight into action to form a closer relationship with their customers. Our MME engine uncovers the motivations and missions of unknown prospects and known customers. By enriching our database with second and third party data, allowing us to serve tailored content to each and every customer. Take Wickes and Sophie. We know they've recently moved house from home mover data. We know Sophie has set her heart on a new kitchen from her social interactions. We know she's a regular visitor to the Wickes website. We even know what style of kitchen she's looking for. We also know that she's still searching for inspiration and where she goes to get her ideas. What type of offers will capture her attention and what will incentivize her to sign up. We know how to keep her engaged in the run-up to her appointment. We know reliability and trust are important for people in her profile group. We know how to ensure Wickes remains front of mind. And we know how to help her gather her ideas. I like that. So when she attends her appointment, she knows exactly what she wants. We also know that no matter how much Sophie loves our designs, she'll continue to shop around. But that's fine, because we know Sophie better than anyone. What she likes, what she wants, what she needs, and what she loves. So why would she choose anyone else? Whichever mission they choose, Wickes will be their first choice, thanks to the Wickes MME.
And I think to help bring to life some of these programs of what we devised and where we started out, Sophie's going to go through some of the specific missions that we can highlight today. So.
Thank you. So once we did all this great piece of work, it was then how we actually apply it to the data and how we actually speak to the customers. From a Wickes perspective, they had 4 key strategic pillars, and we wanted to make sure that all of the communications actually sat within them, and then we were talking to them at these correct points. So for trade, we identified 8 missions. So if you think of a mission almost a little bit like an occupation, it's all linked to what they were purchasing and their behaviour. So they would be things such as outdoor gardening, building and painting. So what we did is we then took those missions and applied it to our weekly communications. So the first place we went after was the BAU. So prior to COVID, we were speaking to the customers on a weekly basis and not factoring in any of their behaviour. So a member could be a gardener, for example, and actually be receiving the same communication every week, talking around kitchens, talking around building. And so what we actually went and did is took those missions, put them into Deploy, separating them, and speaking to the customers differently based on that. So as you can see on the left here, you've got what would be the BAU communication. So this is all focused around kitchen, and this would go to everybody not factoring in any of the behaviour. And what we did is we actually updated that communication to be mission focused. So their hero image at the top would be based on what mission they're on. The products underneath would all be linked to what they've previously been buying, factoring in that mission. And the categories again below, talking all around that mission segment. So we now have 7 variations of these communications going every week, and the content actually flexes dependent on that. In the first 6 months of launching this program, we actually saw £7 million in incremental revenue. So just proving that if we spoke to the customer about what they were actually doing, it performs a lot better. So after that, for the trade, we went to look at their actual welcome program. So we knew that there was a bit of a perception gap, and the tradespeople didn't necessarily feel as though they were recognised as business people, and so we split out our welcome journey again dependent on their occupation. So when Trade Pro members signed up, we knew their occupation, but we weren't doing anything with it. So rather than just speaking to them in a generic tone, which is what we previously did, we split that out based on the occupation that they'd given us until they did purchase, so that we then could put them into their mission. So the first email that they would receive and their app push as well would all be linked around the occupation that they've given us, and then the second talking about how they could grow that and where the areas that they potentially shopped. So from this, we actually saw revenue per customer during this process go up by 19.5%. Again, just showing that being a little bit more tailored to them and showing them that we know this about them, it actually really helped enhance that journey. And then we took a little bit of a step back from trade and looked at DIY. So for DIY, we knew that they didn't shop so frequently, but we actually identified 10 key missions. So again, we separated out things such as showrooms, so they do it for me, so that would be bathrooms and kitchen. And then we split the missions by gardening, building, painting, and then smaller jobs such as we've got an odd jobs and electrics mission as well. So the first place we went with DIY, there was a big gap in the communication journey for DIY. So we knew that customers were purchasing. We had their data on what they've purchased, but we weren't doing anything with it. So they just, no matter what, they'd just be receiving the weekly BAU, and there was no recognition of their purchase. So we actually created 6 variants of a communication journey that spanned over 4 weeks, acknowledging the category that they purchased in. So you can see on the left, that would be paint, in the middle, garden, and on the right it would be building. And we sent them communications that helped grow their mission, so giving them how-to guides to show exactly how to do things if they were feeling like they weren't sure on what they were needing to do next, things that they potentially could have missed when they were purchasing, and also some inspiration to help them along that journey. So with this one, we actually saw a 24% increase in conversion rate during that period. We took a holdout and sent them BAU during that time, and with that comparison, we were able to see the mission really grow by sending them mission in motion. And then we went on to the BAU. So similar to trade, we were sending them really, what's the word that I'm looking for? Product-focused emails on a weekly basis. They were often seasonally led, but we weren't acknowledging any of the behaviors and what the customers were telling us, which was often that they weren't sure how to do a project, or they needed a little bit of inspiration. And so with that, we actually set up a process within Wickes, getting a lot of editorial content from them. So finding out about what's trending right now from all these different areas, and putting that together to deliver more of an inspiration-led approach. So you can see on the right here, the comparison's really different, but we're integrating products within more of a editorial way, so teaching them how to do certain things, when they should be doing them, giving them advice and inspiration, and also doing this multi-channel. So we're using Meta as well to support the email communication, so they've got a really tied-up journey. So it was really great to see the change in that, and we A/B tested this over 6 months, and it did outperform. So now we are fully on the right-hand side there, sending this on a weekly basis. And in the future, we're looking to actually use a model to determine the next best mission to make it a little bit more customized. So for example, if I've been shopping garden, my bottom panel would then include something about garden and growing the mission. So just adding that level of customization to it. And then lastly, what the last set that we've launched so far would be called Showroom Conversion Pathway. So this is the do-it-for-me customers. So with a showroom purchase, it's bespoke to you. So you have to have multiple appointments along the way. And your journey will flex depending on how fast you go through the process, or whether you are taking a little bit longer in certain areas. And Wickes, prior to us launching Showroom Conversion Pathway, we weren't actually acknowledging any of these steps. So we have created a journey for both kitchen and bathroom that follows you through that. We launched this in August last year, and I actually have a video that can talk you through the process. There we go.
In the competitive world of kitchen and showroom bathrooms, we embarked on a mission to revolutionise the buying experience. Moving away from being product-centric, we needed to transform and place customers at the heart of our strategy. We wanted to stop customers feeling anxious and overwhelmed during the renovation journey, and answer any questions they have. Introducing Showroom Conversion Pathway, a strategy designed around both the physical and emotional journey customers go through. We aimed to reduce their cognitive load, increase their certainty, and reduce optimism bias throughout the process. We start when the customer has booked their design appointment, answering common questions and giving reassurance, with a friendly reminder to rebook if they can't make it. As the appointment nears, we let them know what to expect, and get them thinking about what they want before they meet with our design expert. They'll come out of their design appointment with a 3D design and a quote. This is the moment it becomes very real. We reassure them that we're there for them, and that we have the expertise to be their partner on this journey. Once we've helped decide the final touches, it's decision time. Of course, not everyone chooses to go ahead. At this point, we try once more to reassure them. And if they decide to wait, we let them know that's okay and that we're here for them. And if in future they change their mind, they can pick right back up from where they were, and hopefully on to a successful purchase. This innovative approach has generated an impressive £7.5 million in incremental revenue compared to a control group. Wickes' showroom conversion pathway is a game changer. By building and sustaining trust, we helped our customers realise their dream kitchens and bathrooms, in turn ensuring that customers return to us, whatever the next project.
So what was really great with showroom conversion pathway was using Deployteq, because we were able to flex that depending on where they were in the journey. So not everyone would receive all of those communications. It was just a way that we had the full version, but we also were able to send them off on different routes depending on where they were behaving. Cool, I'll hand over to Robin.
Cool. I'm reminded we often talk around and have acronyms whenever we present these. BAU being our business as usual.
Oh, yeah,
so
sorry.
what we were sending prior to this. So I'm just reminded that often we lose ourselves in our own chat. But key takeaways, I think it's important to really do some proper introspection. I don't think anything or any part of this could have been done without really knowing what the problem was. Sometimes there can be a bit of veneer around what it is, what we think it is, but actually asking some difficult questions of ourselves, and also going, we deployed these programs or these trigger programs in the past, but to know that we have to change up and the landscape is changing was a really important step in making that a reality and setting some big visions for the business and ourselves. Leveling up the CX and tech capability, I think there's nothing else with working with our close partners, and this can obviously be as ourselves as an agency and as a platform, but also working with our other CDP partners, working with those that we have to work with in order to get the right data at the right time. I think we glossed over, I think, some of the impacts and convincing individuals, certainly within trading teams, that you have to push that cursor washer or that particular paint. But actually going to an automated process can often be a really arduous and a tricky conversation to be had, especially when they've been in the business for upwards of 20 to 30 years. So until we actually landed a week ahead and were able to show those pretty impressive first 6 months, both in incremental revenue and also some of the key learnings, and pivoting along the way very quickly, was able to onboard more of the guys within that team. And I know Alex and the team here will no doubt I think we realise that isn't always an easy journey to navigate internally. So socialising that, taking on it, making iterative change was important, but we had to move past to prove it. And now we're on a programme of 9 that are live out of 14 that we have planned. So there is more to come. It continues to evolve. And again, it's about levelling up and making sure that we don't rest on laurels. Half of our budget that's spent working just on making sure we optimise continuously, look at the data, understand what's going through Deployteq, and making the subsequent change at pace. And this is only just the start. I mentioned we're obviously two years really down the line. There are more that we're going into. We are proud of the recognition we've been given within the space, but also looking at planning and automation at the heart of what we do. There's a great focus now around AI learning. We do a lot of what we do, certainly around the scoring, which sits partly in Deployteq, but there's a more seamless approach that we're taking to doing that. But also spotting individuals that are in mission before they've even made a purchase, making sure there's some real signals of multiple channels. I know that feels probably a bit email-centric here, but there are multiple different channels we are looking to explore, making MME feel real actually within a store as well, and colleagues being on board to understand how to talk them through it and feeling like they can use that as a sales aid, not just as a opt-in. And also moving, like I said, into the physical. So recognising individuals with the right rewards based on the type of advocacy they give us, and looking at Rewards 2.0 and where we're taking a sort of a more loyalty program to those individuals is going to be a key part of that learning. That's as much I think I want to share with you guys today. I think there's probably open to questions if you have them, but hopefully that's been helpful for you guys. So,
In terms of the content or how we're doing it? Yeah, so in terms of the content, the way that we're flexing it is we make sure we have enough permission, and then we're using Deployteq to actually ingest that and then dynamically pull it through depending on the data and what it tells us about their mission.
It's an important question you raise, because often the personalisation is the goal, but often the content to keep it fresh and relevant is often the biggest hurdle. And one of the things that we came up with two particular ceremonies we have with the month across all our partners to make sure that we give them some key themes around what we're trying to talk about. It might be cost of living, it might be housing crisis, whatever it might be, to make sure that there's always content in the hopper. Yes. It depends. I'd say some of the earlier programs that are now live, I think there's more of a level of optimization, but also level of automation that now comes, because we always have content ready to display. If you've seen it before, if you've received this before, there's always something else to replace. I'd say there's always going to be a manual process once you're trying to get that first 6 months out of the way.
When
you go through that A/B testing that happens. It's always a manual process to start, but as soon as it gets to a tipping point, that is then obviously look to automate as much of it. Well, yes, and other factors as well. There might be other things, and both from social listening and what we hear people are doing. But yes, absolutely, we try and infer as much as we can. There's a steering that we have monthly, which appraises exactly your point. What isn't working? What should we turn off? And even some of the programs we're looking at now are parts of that an overkill. Are we getting a cut through? Is there a critical mass that we're hitting? Should we divert the optimization on this onto something else? But yes, to your point, absolutely. Sorry, anybody else?
Good.
Lovely. In that case, thank you very much for listening. Much appreciated.